conversation focused on street topics. Here at Street Safe, our goal is to give the urban community a platform so their voices are heard, understood, and respected. For this episode, we have a group of men that will discuss the violence in our community perpetrated by our youth. Who else should begin these conversations but men that understand the complexities of youth violence because they themselves participated and perpetrated the violence in their youth, but now have changed their lives and are trying to help other young men transition themselves. Our moderator for this episode is Naeem Muhammad McKnight. Welcome.
Peace and blessings. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today with you brothers and sisters. The wonderful work that y'all do with violence intervention and the mentoring component of what you do with Street Safe Bridgeport. And I just wanted, before we begin the conversation, I just want to kind of give everybody opportunity to, I'm going to go around, we'll start with Dennis and work our way down, to just talk about, tell us a few things about who you are and what caused you to get involved with what you do now and what is it that you do now. So I want to start with Dennis, brother.
Thank you, Brother Dahi, and everybody. Thank y'all for being here. My name is Dennis Broadnax, outreach worker for Street Safe, and one of the things that I felt that was important to me why I wanted to be part of this organization is simply the truth. As was reiterated earlier, being narrated, I once destroyed my community. And I'm not proud of it by a long shot, but I felt that the most important thing is to be part of rectifying the situation. And what better experience can I bring being what I did to the community in my previous life? I felt that I would never want no other youth to suffer again through the hands of anything, let alone what I did. So I felt like me bringing my strength, spirits, and hope, and the hopes to putting a better way or an outlet for the youth to have a different perspective. And that's what brought me to Street Safe, and I'm just happy to be here to try to be a part of Street Safe to help save our youth through Street Safe.
Excellent point. And what is it exactly that you do now? And if you don't mind, tell our viewers, like, how much time did you do in the penitentiary?
Well, I just got out. I was incarcerated for 13 and a half years myself. Just now I got out of federal penitentiary in 2019. It was one of the first ones in Connecticut to get out under the First Step Act. Prior to that, I did about a period of 7 years in the state. And here I am. I'm ready to share my spirit, strength, and hope with the youth in the hope that I can bring a brighter future for them. I had to pay the cost, and I didn't mind it, and I'm not justifying what I did, and by means was wrong, and I don't want no other kid to have to go through the same thing. And if I can plant a seed and even enlighten them or share my perspective, maybe in hopes that he don't have to suffer through anything that I have to suffer, or any of the panel, the guys on my co-workers on the panel have had to go through.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. We appreciate your contribution to this ongoing struggle that we have going on with our primarily our young men, throughout the whole country. Brother Ed, give us a little insight on, how you got involved, what you were doing prior to this, and what you do now with Street Safe Bridgeport.
I was basically at Calderon, Street Safe outreach worker. I was basically finally getting to a point of, stability at the time, and I started helping a lot of my friends. And I came to the realization that there's very few men that were in our community that were standing up to help one another, to help, the youth especially. So I started volunteering in various places, and I found Street Safe. I'm glad to find Street Safe, which is an organization that mentors youth from the ages of 14 to 24 which was something, since I was already in that age bracket trying to help out. Getting out of prison after doing 8 years in the federal prison, I realized, transition is tough, and it's very hard to walk through by yourself. Like, especially when you got all these challenges and barriers that, we all know of, everyone is aware of. People keep doing research on rather than, attacking the problem at hand. And I, once again, want to become part of the solution.
My name is Anthony. I'm an outreach worker for Street Safe Bridgeport. Outreach worker for Street Safe Bridgeport. Well, mine is a story that when I first got into Street Safe, it was a struggle actually to get into Street Safe. But our supervisor, Abby X, she seen the drive and the motivation that I had to help the youth in the street. So she made it her personal business because she seen my passion to get me involved. I first started off as a part-time intern, and then she found a way so that I could use my talent and be able to articulate what it is that I have to say on a higher platform by getting me full-time in this position. So coming into Street Safe, it gave me the opportunity to pay back the debt of society that when I destroyed, as my co-worker was saying, as we all agree, few of us agree that our past things, the past things that we did, we're just paying back by helping the youth right now that's out in these streets. And in doing so, I'm grateful for the opportunity to give back in the manner that we're able to give back, because it's a very unique program. And many youth that I grew up with, we could never imagine having some type of program like this. People reaching out to us, actually reaching out to us, really trying to stop us from doing the destruction that we were doing in the past. So I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful that I was given the opportunity to be a part of this. And this is actually not only helped me to bring the youth to a certain level of maturity in life, but it also brought me to a certain level of maturity in life and put me in places where I can let the people hear my voice and make changes.
Yes, sir. And prior to this, because I didn't get a chance to ask Ed also, because it's important to note, only for the purposes of the young people understanding that what they're going through is not something new, but it's something that people before them have went through. How much time you have done in the penitentiary?
I did 14 and a half years, day for day in the penitentiary. Honestly, I don't regret it. I embrace it. I thank God that happened, because it allowed me to become who I am today and be able to be that liaison to the youth now to change their lives.
And the reason why I mention this is because you don't have to have been in prison to be able to help young people, but it just gives you an extra edge to be able to connect and relate to the young people that we have to relate to, because going to prison don't make you qualified. A lot of us was in the penitentiary, but it does help to be able to connect with the young person to understand that what they're going through. You had also been through that, and you understand the struggles and the pitfalls of that struggle. And that leads me to my next brother on the panel today, is that Brother Harry has never been in prison, but he grew up around the circumstances, and he's able to connect by his experience. So Brother Harry, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and your struggles growing up, and then how you got involved with Street Safe and what you're doing now.
Well, Street Safe is very unique. I have some very unique individuals that I sit next to today, but we all are uniquely different.
Yes, sir.
So what brings me and makes me uniquely different is that I come from the same struggle, but I was able to escape some of the things that my brothers had to go through, meaning the jail system. So I think I bring a sense of what Brother Daeed said to a youth in a state as if you don't have to go to jail to be able to touch our youth. And I believe Street Safe have made room for me to be able to let kids see it's not where you come from that make you go to any type of penitentiary. It's where you're trying to go. So I enjoy being what they call the oddball, but the oddball for one reason, and that's the reason to let our youth know that you don't have to spend a day in jail to know what's right or what's wrong.
Excellent point, brother. Thank you. And Brother Art, tell us a little bit about your background. We know that, if you don't mind us saying, like most of us on the panel, you had also been incarcerated. How long was you in prison, brother?
16 years.
Yes, sir. So you understand those struggles from that perspective. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do now, how you got involved with Street Safe.
My name is Art Preston, Street Safe Outreach Worker. What made me get involved with Street Safe, first of all, I'm going to go back to my prison days. I did a lot of things in the streets that I'm not proud of. And due to those things, I was incarcerated, and I believe if I wasn't incarcerated, I'd probably been killed. So I believe that was a God sacrifice to me. You know, he sacrificed my life. So throughout those 16 years, I felt like I had a lot to offer, because the things that I did in the streets, I wanted to be able to help them dodge the potholes so they wouldn't fall into these potholes,
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
I really just wanted to help in any way I could help. And I think Street Safe gave me a platform to go into the community and do some good work with these kids to help them, just in any way we can help. And there's so many ways we can help, rather it's helping them get back into school. A lot of people have given up on them. So, just helping them get back into school, trying to get them work,
Good point. I was talking with one of you brothers the other day, and I know I'm having a senior moment, brother, getting old, man. I can't remember who it was, but he brought up a good point about there's other ways of being there for them too. Because you made some good points, made me think about that conversation. Was like sometimes a lot of our young men, and that's what the brother was telling me, when they lose their homies, man, a lot of brothers it's not normal. We take it as being normal, but a lot of young brothers, 14, 15, 16, 17, 13, their homie getting gunned down, something like that. It's not normal. And we're taught by this stereotypical image that a man is supposed to be hard as rocks and he ain't supposed to have no emotions and whatnot. That's unrealistic, man. We know that's unrealistic.
Right.
But that's the concept we buy into, our young men buy into. And the brother was telling me, I wish I could remember, but he was telling me how important it was when he developed that relationship with the young man and he opened up to him and he gave him an outlet to talk about how he felt. Y'all was riding in the car and he was like, man, I just, I've never thought my friend would get killed, and it really, it hit him. And a lot of times our young men are not getting the opportunity to do what they're supposed to do as a human being, to be able to talk about that, to be able to grieve. Like any human being is supposed to have the right to grieve. So I know that y'all also play a role and function in that capacity too. And I appreciate y'all for that. So I just want to say thank you, because a lot of times it's the little things that's really important. A lot of these young brothers ain't got nobody to talk to. And a lot of times they lose respect for us because the only brothers that's visible is the brothers that's on the corner with them. Because, the reality of life is a lot of the men got to work, so we're not in the community 24 hours a day. And the brothers that's there, they not messed up on drugs. They standing next to the brother trying to get the pack off, and he looking at him like, yo, you 35, I'm 17, what you doing out here with me?
Right.
So he ain't got no respect for him or the dude that's getting high. And they really don't have nobody. So brothers like you, the real solid brothers, is a blessing that you could develop these relationships and be involved with these brothers, man. And for the brothers that's watching, man, yo, it's all good. if you still a man, just because you find somebody you trust to talk about how you feel. Because when you don't talk about how you feel, you internalize it, and like a volcano, if it ain't no way to get out, it explodes, and usually it erupts on each other in the form of violence, and usually on those who are available, which is the people in our community. So I really appreciate what y'all do. So the next part of the conversation, I just want to drop some questions like rocks. You know, you drop a rock in the water and it ripples. So I'm gonna drop some questions, and whoever want to answer it, you know, we're gonna take this conversation from there, because we want this to be a natural conversation. And my first question is, I'm thinking about something I had read in school. You know, I didn't pay much attention to school until after a while I was in the penitentiary, and that was the place I had to think. And please, brothers listening, you ain't got to go to the penitentiary to have a place to think. Some of us just got there and then we figured that out. You can do that now before you ain't got to go there. But I started going to school, and I was reading this book about psychologists developed psychological theory, Albert Banderas, and he was talking about how children learn by observation, which is very true. When you think about the logic of that, and thinking about that, my question is, if children learn by observation, how important is it to have solid, productive, I'm not going to say role models, but real models, like Brother Fred always say, having positive, productive role models in the community that's visible? How important do you think that is to the development of our young brothers out there? Anybody want to take that question? If they learn by observation, if we all learn as human beings by observation, how important is that?
If I may, Brother Dyer, I appreciate that. I just want to clarify it, and I respect that what you said about the both perspectives, coming from incarcerated and Harry's perspective on not incarcerated. So I just wanted to make sure I made that clear, that y'all both echo the same sentiment and y'all captivate that. But to answer your question on that, I had one young youth who told me that it's very important that I don't be hypocritical. This is the word that he used to me. I was mentoring him, and he said, you know what, man, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. After you told me about what you went through and some of your perspective and what you shared, he said, I think it's very important that you don't be hypocritical, because we don't have nothing but hypocriticalness out here. Everyone tells me what to do, and I look at them and they're doing it.
Important, that's important.
He said, so, you know, and I'm not trying to take no credit for this. So I went into my soul, this is the truth, and said that what must I do daily as an observation point, as you just said, to be the focal point. And I told myself, and I always reiterate this, is simply being yourself and being truthful with self, because everyone is watching, even when you think they are not watching. And then I told myself, I said, now I truly know what is morale. Morale is actually doing and standing up for what's right, even when no one is looking. And this is what you're asking. Even if I think the young people are not watching me, they have been watching me. So the moment that I think that they're not watching me, they're observing me. Not only are they watching, but they observe it. They say, oh, he's street safe, he this, he that. Well, I'm gonna see how he conduct himself when he not. Because, you know, they get to see us in, you know, our natural life, because we live around. How do you conduct yourself when people are not pressuring you? How do you carry yourself? And this is what he's telling me. I'm watching, and there's no one there. Everyone says, oh, street safe, this, that, and other. But when they take off their street safe suit, you know, I'm not going to get into it. And that's where I get lost that he told me, because I'm confused. You tell me one thing, you take your street safe suit off, and later on I'm looking at you like, was that a dog and pony show?
My God.
Are you on stage? Is this a character?
Yes, sir.
I need like Brother Fred said, I don't need a role model. That's what a role model is.
Real love, brother.
I need a real model. I need a person that emulates standards, morals, what he
Yes.
do daily. And I'm not asking you by far imagine to be perfect, because none of us are perfect. I like to say what my boss, Ebony, always tells me, we all are perfectly flawed. If anything, everyone has fallen short of the glory and made mistakes. But that doesn't stop that you should still have standards and morals in your life. Don't let that be an excuse to do different and worse. Better yourself daily, all of us. I try to look at myself, and I'm going to leave it for somebody else.
Good point.
What I told myself was, if you can look in the mirror and be truthful with yourself, then you can be truthful with anybody. And that's where I tried to start with myself. If I can look in the mirror every day and say, Dennis, you need to be truthful with yourself. Then when the youth look at me, if I'm being truthful with myself, then that's all they will see is the truth.
Yes, sir.
As I look at life, I see how individuals treat certain things. And my observation from that is some of the most powerful things is unseen. Let me say that again. Some of the most powerful things is unseen.
That's right.
So I believe the actions speak louder than the demands that we want from our youth.
That's right.
The actions speak louder.
Say it again, brother.
You know, I always said to myself, I didn't want to be a preacher. I didn't want to be a teacher. But I want people to see whatever I believe in that's doing for me and my life is being positive, that it can happen to you.
Good point.
So if the greatest things is unseen and actions without words can be displayed on a human being, a youth looking at it from another eye point can see further than what they can touch.
When I was young, I don't think there was not one man that was in sight that was showing me anything positive or spitting anything, communicating to me and letting me know that
Yes, sir.
there's a different way to be. There's a different way to survive.
Yes, sir.
There was no education of life skills in front of me, no one to guide me or train me. So if there's no one there showing me the way to do things right, then how am I going to do those things right? You know what I mean? If there's no one to show me what is right from wrong, even though there's a moral compass inside all of us, but at the end of the day, you start focusing on survival and start focusing on your environment and your surroundings and trying to make sure that you can eat and be safe the next day. And if there's no men there to sit there and say, hey, I understand you're doing it this way, but just take a glance this way and I'll guide you if you need it. I'm here for you. And I say there was not one man. And I think it takes, and that's why I'm so glad that this group exists, because I think it takes more than just one man. I think it takes a group of men that are consistent and that are there, because you have to think these kids are around their peers constantly, every single day. That's why, even with good parents at home sometimes, these kids are not hearing that positivity, because they might hear for a couple of hours when mom and dad get off of work and they're home right before they go to sleep, or you know what I mean, after they get out of school and they're running back to the streets. They might hear that for a couple of hours, and then guess what? For 5 or 6 hours, they're hearing the youth in the school, on the street, everywhere else. So if there's not men in the streets, enraptured in their school, connecting with their parents at home to partnership with them in order to make sure that this kid is getting the correct messages, then the battle is lost. And that's why I think Street Safe is important, because this is what we bring. You know, we bring our experiences of not having that training and where our training lacked, and knowing where that training lacked at, to the home, to the streets, to the schools, to, you know, probation, correction, everything. We bring that, and we allow them to glean from our misfortunate education and take that and start implementing, you know, this type of guidance that these kids need. So it is very important that these kids see us.
Follow what Dennis was saying, you follow what Harry was saying, it leads up to what Ed is saying. This is the outcome. The outcome is this. They observe you, they know you, they're comfortable with you. You don't even have to be their mentor, but because they know you, they observe you, and they know what you're about and that you're real, when they see you on those streets, hey Aunt, hey Harry, hey Ed, what's up, what's going on? You can conversate with these individuals, you can conversate with these youth. And prime example, we go into Greens, and there's a group of guys out there, and they see us. We just interrupted the negativity that they are doing. Why? Because that takes them away from to come talk to us. And we're going to be spitting nothing but positive in their mind. Even if it's just for a half hour they weren't getting in no trouble. A half hour was a half hour they couldn't get killed. You know what I'm saying? So when they know that you're doing what you got to do and that you're not a hypocrite and you're real, when they see you on the street, they're comfortable to come up to you and say, listen, what's going on? This was going on. Can you help me with this? Can you do this? And so on and so on. That's why it's very important. Observation, that's a good question. That's why observing, they're going to always observe you. And that's why it's very important, because you never know if they see you, and they might be in a situation, but if you're a hypocrite, you're not going to give them the opportunity to come talk to you, because they're like, yo, he's doing the same thing, so why am I going to talk to him? Now he might have got jammed up, or he might have got killed. You know what I'm saying? And to go back on when you was talking about a young man, you know, I experienced that with the young man riding after we going to see his friend that was murdered. You know what I'm saying? And we ride in the car. He said, yo, Aunt, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. He was serious. You know, I told him to contact me later on. It took him a week and a half to contact, but he contacted me. But in the time that he contacted me, he lost his life. So that's why observation is very, very key. Very, very key.
Absolutely. And I asked you brothers that question because I had an interesting experience, man, where, and don't get me wrong, you ain't got to be no saint. I'm not perfect. None of us perfect. I mean, I got a kufi on my head. That don't mean I'm perfect. I'm still living in human flesh, man. So I don't want young people to think that we set the bar so high, you got to be perfect. But it's about living by, like Dennis said, some consistent morals and values, because our young men are not born, and we wasn't born with a handbook on how to be a man. You're just going through life trying to figure this thing out, and you take what you see and you try to emulate it. And it's very personal for me, because I know as a kid, it was a man that was very dear to me, my grandfather. And in no way am I saying anything negative about him. He was the best man that I ever knew, man. He was a family man, but you know, he was about that life, as a young brother say, and he used to tell me, listen, man, don't do what I'm doing, do what I say do, because I'm doing wrong. But the effect that it had on me, and I'm not blaming him, was that I idolized him so much that I was like, I know he loved me, he concerned about me, he don't want me to be like him, but man, that's my dude. I want to be like him, you know. I want to wear, they don't do that no more. I want to wear brims. I want to, you know what I'm saying? He got Stacey Adams on every day, and he got money and rubber bands in his sock, in his pocket. And those were the men that I grew up seeing, and the brothers in my neighborhood with, you know, if you was popular and you was doing something illegal, you know, because a lot of times society played a major role in restricting the avenues that black and brown and Latino men could go through to be successful and feel like a man and be empowered to take care of your family. So a lot of men that I witnessed as a young man had took that other route because there wasn't a lot of opportunities that they knew about. Today, we know a lot hasn't changed, but a lot has. And there are a few more options. And I think sometimes when young brothers are not informed about what those options are, then they feel like they're in that same straitjacket that we all were in. And I think that's why what you do is so important, to show them other avenues, other ways. But I did experience something that caused me to ask that question. I was working at the Taylor Center for like 2 years. And oh man, I still feel close to all the young men that I work with, man. I love them, man. Took some blows, you know, a lot of young brothers lost their life. And then a lot of young brothers from other sides of town that I work with, from being in Young Cheshire doing a program in there, from the place I work for. It hurt me to see them die too, man. It hurts me to see lose any of our young brothers. I don't care what side they're from, man. We all one, and brothers know that. When hopefully they never get there, but you do get to the penitentiary, you start seeing what you have in common and less what you have difference, because you're in a place that requires that you unify, and the situation dictates your unity. Well, we need to have that before we get to a place like that. But I was working in the center, and the young man told me that they really appreciate me. It was my birthday. He said, "Dai, I got a gift for you." And he gave me a GPS in a box, and the box was open. And I was like, "Brother, where you get this from, man?" He was like, "I didn't take it." I said, "Man, I asked you that." I said, "Where you get this from? Did somebody take it? Did this stolen?" He said, "I ain't gonna lie, man, you know, such and such, my man got it somehow and he gave it to me." I said, "Well, brother, I can't take it." I said, "Because what do I look like telling you not to do this and do that, and then I take something that I know is stolen?" And you know, hey man, we all did it. Young people do things like that. But I had to establish a principle. And it was important to him because what he said next hurt me in a good way. Because he said, "Brother Dai, you're the first adult that I met that wouldn't take nothing stolen." And that's a painful commentary, to believe that I'm the first adult in that young brother's life that wouldn't take nothing stolen, man. And we got to begin to ask ourselves a question. You know, some of the things that we're doing, no matter how we justify them, and a lot of times we know it's the collateral damage of oppression and exploitation, but we got to understand the impact that it has on our young people, man. So from that day forward, he really gave me something to think about. And that leads into the next rock that I want to drop in the water, the next question to make some ripples, man, is a lot of young men are under the false concept that going to prison is a rites of passage. That when you go to prison, this is the road that you take to become a man. And when you come out, somehow, while you were in there, you're going to go through some journey that you come out and you're a man. This is a very false narrative. And I don't want to start the conversation with the details. I want some of y'all to talk to the young brothers about why is that a false narrative, and what is it about prison that's actually in the opposite of functioning the capacity of a man?
I didn't actually go to prison or anything to that nature, but I always, I remember one time I was in a group similar to this, and there was probably like 20 individuals talking to a group of kids. And every kid, every individual that was on the pedestal did time in jail. And then when I came up and talked, And I told him that I didn't experience that, the crowd. And at the end, one of the kids came up to me, and I remember this clear as day. They said, in order for me to understand the streets properly, I need to go to jail, then change. And that kind of blew my mind. They said, the young man said, in order for me to do what you do, understand the streets properly, I gotta go to jail first. And then
Now stop right there. So I got a fire right here. I run in the fire. Do Harry need to run in the fire and get burned up and say, man, I know what a fire could do to you? Or could he say, Dai got messed up. I ain't going in the fire. I see what it can do. I think will make him more intelligent and exercise his intelligence more to look at how I got injured from the fire to know that that's something that's harmful. But go ahead, brother.
My corrections came from my peers' mistakes.
That's what we talking about, brother.
My corrections came from my peers' mistakes.
Thank you, sir.
It's amazing that you brought that question up, because guess what? Street Safe is that example on, we can tell you why it is not a proud moment to be locked up. You have one individual that was never incarcerated. You have us that was incarcerated. I'll use myself as an example. While I was incarcerated, I lost a relationship with my daughter.
That's big, bro.
I lost being in touch with society in general. I didn't know how to function with computers when I came home. I didn't know how to use a phone. I didn't know how to, matter of fact, I went into a Walmart for the first time and had an anxiety attack on my first day out, right? And you look at those who was incarcerated, we lost so much. But if you look at the one who was not incarcerated, his life gained success. If you don't mind me telling you the occupation, but he's a school security officer. That's big. I say every day, I wish, even though it wasn't decreed, it wasn't the plan, but I wish that I went to college. Going on these college tours with these kids. And that's another thing. I know we're not talking about observation, but that's another thing. Street Safe is so unique because the kids get to see someone who was incarcerated and how, the outcome, someone who wasn't incarcerated. And then you can be on a college tour to go see men that look like you getting their education. So you get to observe these three different aspects. You know what I'm saying? You know what'll happen if you go to prison. You know what'll happen if you don't. And I feel that in life, a person rather wins than lose. There's no way possible you want to lose in life. And losing is losing all of your loved ones for all of those years, being around them, and me as a man, I'm a man, but I have to listen to another man, another woman tell me, you gotta lock up and go to bed, or you can't take a shower right now, or you gotta go to work and make $1.75, or maybe you reach to something, you know what I'm saying? And it's just ridiculous, and then, a lot of people don't, like to talk about it, but the concept of you being degraded when you gotta strip naked, like you gotta strip naked.
And that's important for them to know, man.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta strip naked in front of a whole bunch of men. You know what I'm saying? And
strip you naked without a gun.
Without a gun. That's so insulting. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the first time I ever experienced that, they put me in SAG because I refused. I refused because I was like, yo, I can't imagine me spreading it's ridiculous. So there's so many more negative things I could speak about when it comes to prison, you know, seeing young men get raped and seeing men, so-called big men being raped and seeing people get extorted and seeing people whole life as far as who they are, genders wise, how it just changed because of the atmosphere that they're in. Or some people, they'll be willing to just give themselves up because they're so scared. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many aspects, you know, I can give about why you wouldn't want to go to prison. You know what I'm saying? Because you have those who, as he said earlier, you might have those who come out and be a better person, or you might have those who come out and be a better criminal, and you're going to end up going back in prison for life or death. You know, so it's so many different negative experiences in prison. But I want to end it with the main experience that hurt me, and that is being, and I said it before because someone said it to me in prison. He said, if you truly love someone, you would never put yourself in a situation to be taken away from them. So when I was taken away from the people that I love, especially my daughter, you know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful that I have an amazing relationship now. But just losing her like that for all those years, that hurts.
Yes, sir. A lot of young brothers understand that being a man is something that's associated with being empowered and being powerful. Well, being in prison is totally the opposite of being empowered, because your life is totally controlled by someone else. So this is not a rites of passage to become a man. And then there are things that happen to you, like he said, that are important. You're taken out of your children's life, you know, and you're not able to be a man to your children in prison. For the young brothers who have children, perfect case in point. One day, my friend came back to the block and he was pissed off, man. He came back and he said the CO told him, hey, so-and-so, I just want to thank you. He said, caught him off guard. He said, thank me for what? He said, thank you for putting my kids to college. I really appreciate you. And when he came back, he was mad, but he was like, Dahi, man, but I really can't be mad because it made me reflect on what am I doing? I'm putting somebody else's kids through college and I ain't even buying a loaf of bread for my own kids because I'm in here restricted, man. That ain't got nothing to do with being a man. That's the total opposite of being a man. It is serious, man. That you could be dehumanized. And you think you empowered. You know, back in the day, they used to have this commercial when E.F. Hutton talked, people listen. And that's what happens in the hood. When you grow up, you get a pistol in your hand. When you got that gun in your hand, people listening to you now. Now you're in the penitentiary, you ain't got that, ain't nobody listening. Matter of fact, they ignoring you, man. So it hasn't empowered you, it hasn't made you a man. When you gotta depend on another human being to let you out of your cell, to let you eat, to let you take a shower. You can turn the water off in the cell when you can't even use the toilet. You got to take a dump in there with another man in there, or be in there while another man is taking a dump in the toilet, man, with no divider between you and him. You could be locked down. I know, I spent a year in isolation. No human contact for a year. Let me out for rec for an hour in a dog cage. Listen, in a dog cage, man. They put handcuffs on me and I walked around the dog cage for an hour, 5 days a week, spent a year in the hole like that. I'm a grown man. Who am I going to call? Who am I going to tell? And a lot of us get jammed up and the first thing we do is call our moms or call our parents. Probably the same ones that we disrespected. And they the ones that love us. Now we got to go listen to some jokers might put a rope around our neck and kill us. That's the reality of the penitentiary. You know, there's a lot of safeguards in there now that protect you but basically there are some people that work in institutions that have a certain sentiment about us. And if they could get their agenda off, you wouldn't make it home alive. Believe that. You know? And this is a serious topic, man, because a lot of our young men are thinking like, yo, I go to prison, I come out, I will be an OG, then I go from the YG to the OG, like yo, I did my time. I ain't rat on nobody, whatever. I ain't rat on nobody. I did 17 and a half years straight. I'm official like a referee with a whistle. I ain't in nobody's paper, but I came home and ain't have money to buy a loaf of bread for my kids. I felt humiliated. I had to start from scratch as a grown man. That made me a man? That definitely not. Want to be a man? Increase your ability, man, to be able to guide and protect and take care of your family and nurture your children, man. That's being a man. And take care and protect and uplift your community. That's being a man. And it's an important topic, you know? And brothers, give me something, man. The fire is hot here, man.
You know, I think one of the biggest problems that they have is they don't realize that when you go in, there's no guarantees you're coming out. You know? There's no guarantees that you're getting out of prison. I mean, a lot of people get left, just like people get killed out here in the streets, they get killed in the prison the same way, on a regular basis. So, you know, a lot of people think, a lot of these kids have this false narrative that, you know, I go into prison, it ain't gonna be nothing, man. I'm just gonna sit up in there a couple of years and then I'm coming home. And like you brothers said before, you know, that gang rapes, you know, people getting extorted, you know, it's a lot of ridiculous stuff that goes on behind the walls, man. And you're not guaranteed from today to tomorrow, man. You know, and just because you seen your boy made it out, don't mean you're making it out.
They'll think it's a badge of honor. But while most of the young people, or most of us are in prison, those people or those boys that you have, that you think you have a badge of honor from going in, how many times they wrote you, how many times they sent you money, how many times they went to your mother to make sure she was straight. If you had a kid, how many times they went to your kid to make sure they straight. You know what I'm saying? So you think you have a badge of honor. They out here saying free such and such, but they ain't doing nothing for you. They ain't doing nothing for your family. You in there struggling, you're having arguments with the mother of your child, or having arguments with your own mom, saying, I need you to send me this, I need you. Well, your mom wasn't the one who was in the streets with you. It was your boys that was in the streets with you that you wanted to prove to them, yo, I can hold it down. So you know what, let me go in here and get this rite of passage. No, it's not. It's a stupid passage. It's a dumb passage. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to understand that, you know, in order for us to get these youth to see it again, we have to be the example. We have to be the example. You know what I'm saying? To show them, set up a bank account. We was talking about this. You know, show them how to be a man. Set up this bank account. Set up. Get your credit together. You know what I'm saying? Go first home buyers or whatever. We got to get their mindset. We was talking about it earlier to the youth that we was building with. You know, I explained to him. I said, if you see your boy over there fighting, I said the average kid is going to think on impulse. You see him over there fighting, you're not thinking about the surroundings and what's going on. You're just going to head over there and jump into that fight with your boy to make sure, you know, you get him out of the situation. And the next thing you know, police and everything is going to roll up, or somebody going to start shooting at you. But if you really thought about it and seen that your man was over there, he was fighting or whatever, you're going to find some way, yo, chill, whatever. And then you guys are going to think about the situation. That's not going to cause you either to be killed or end up in prison. So a lot of these young brothers will stop thinking that it's a badge of honor to go to prison once we start getting into their minds to help them start thinking correctly, the rational way, making correct decisions instead of doing things on impulse. You know what I'm saying? And then that'll help them learn, like, you know what? I'm thinking about this. Why would I do this and think that going to prison is, and they're going to be out here chilling with their kids, and I'm not here with mine.
But I respect individuals like you guys so much, and help me with this. the reason why I respect you guys so much, and Brother Aquil, who's not here, who went down that path, did time in jail, and went down the aisle today and get his bachelor's degree.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I respect you guys, and the reason why I say that again, I respect Aquil for being in that same path, walking that child line, and walking the graduation line, and getting his bachelor's degree. And I say this to say this, is the hardest part of jail the first day you come home. And the reason why I say that is because I see individuals go back for the same thing that led them to go in. They go back like a revolving door. So you guys got I look at you guys as bodybuilders of the mind, because for you guys to get that door slammed when you come home for your mistakes and be able to go to the next door, 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 and be able to sit here with Street Safe to give a better opportunity to the youth that may be going down the same path you was going. It must take strength, and that's why I say, is the hardest part getting out of jail? Because I see a revolving door to so many. And look at you guys today.
I actually, before I was getting out, first I got denied. To get out. And then the second time they approved me to get out. And it was like a year and some change. But in that year, even before, I made a plan. And I wrote to this day, I got my book. I still got my book, my black and white little composition book. I made a plan. And sometimes a lot of brothers that come home and go back in, I'm not saying all of them, but the majority of them don't have a plan. They don't have a plan when they're coming home. They're just like, you know what? I know what I was doing before, so I know this is what I'm good at, so this is what I'm gonna do, right? An example that I heard the pastor, the preacher, T.D. Jakes say one time, right? He said, a man goes into prison, right? And you have to look at that man as, back in the day, you know, I know you're old enough, back in the day, there used to be a camera that you had negatives, and then, you know, the Polaroid camera, and you know, but that negative that was in there, you had to bring it into a dark room in order to develop. And T.D. Jakes was saying that, you know, you got to go into this dark room. So the prison he was talking about prisoners. He said that prison was our dark room because our negative that was in that camera, the life that we was living out here, we had to go into that dark room so that we can develop. And while you're in that dark room, in that prison, that's your opportunity to develop yourself and to develop a new standard in life of the way morality. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking about that, and now you're cultivating your mind to develop yourself, to prepare yourself to come back out into society. Now, however that negative comes out, or I take it back, however you carry yourself in that prison system, whether it's the federal penitentiary or the state penitentiary, the way you carry yourself in there is the way you're going to come out and be. Because you're not developing yourself into that person that wants to come home and be successful. You're still developing yourself in the old ways. You're still having conversations about the war stories that you had or what you were doing in the streets. Instead of having a conversation of, you know what, I'm not used to society now. I've been in here for 14 and a half years, so I have to understand the concept of how to use the phone, or the concept of how to survive in the streets again. You know what I'm saying? So when you don't have that plan and you're not planning that, you're going to be lost when you come out here. And when a person is lost, what they do? Anything on impulse. They don't start, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of these brothers, they come home without a plan before they get out.
And for our young people, that's something that is a universal concept. The principles of what you're saying is very important, because you don't have to be in prison to be in that dark room for that change to take place, to develop. But you're raising an excellent point. And I think that's what happened to a lot of us, and that's what's not happening with some of the brothers. That it's not that they don't want it, it's just that the transition wasn't successful. And the biggest thing we face, I know when I was young, is like, so what happened for me basically was I had one set of values, right? But before I could say that, everybody hold your hand out like that and close your hands. Can I give you anything like this? How can I give you something? How your hands got to be open. The hands got to be like that. And now you open to get something new. So that's what happens a lot of times, because the people that love us unknowingly gave us some values that's a part of the collateral damage of oppression and exploitation. We hold tight to these things because we think if we let them go, we are being unloyal to ourselves and we are losing ourselves. So how a lot of us changed was different avenues, different strokes for different folks. Some of us that was in prison and some people who out here in the street. When I let go of the other values and was willing to let that go, the things that I lived my life by, I embraced another set of values. For me, it just happened to be Islam, and it allowed me to live a life that allowed me to be successful in the society. But had I not let go of the other values, I couldn't receive what I was supposed to get. So a lot of times when we talk to young brothers, it's like, yeah, man, in my heart I want to change, but am I being disloyal? Because, yo, this is who I am, because my brother, my cousin, my uncle, my pops, this is what we do. No, that ain't what you do. We wasn't born to be in this state, and we wasn't born to be in prison. We wasn't born to be in this state of mind or this condition. It's what we had learned up to that point. But if we're willing to trust someone enough to let it go and embrace something new, then things could change for us. And that's what happened to you. You told me that. You was around the brothers that do what we all did, and you was like, man, there got to be another way to make money. Somebody invited you in the barbershop and started giving you another set of values. Man, you can make money legally, man. Start right here. You put your pride to the side. You told me you started sweeping up here, and you figured out, you know what? There was other avenues to take care of yourself besides committing crimes. But you was open for that. Had you not been open for that, you would have said, oh man, that's some sucker stuff. That's some female stuff, man. I come out here with my mans and them. You was open to it, even if somebody laughed at you and it caused you to make a transition in your life without going to prison. You know, so there's a lot of brothers out here that, everybody rather, who you all born with talents and gifts. It's just that, like anything of value, you have to dig into the earth to pull it out. That's what you got to do for gold, diamonds, uranium, oil, bauxite. They got to move the other stuff out the way to get down below to pull the good stuff out. And a lot of stuff in our life, we got to move out the way for the good stuff to come to the top, the things of value of who we really are, buried beneath all that other stuff that the world says we are. So this is an important conversation, man. And my next rock I want to drop in the water, man, is you know, as we move forward and we continue to talk about what it means to be a man, one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of our men, from first grade to fifth grade, we excel in academics. And then when we start to go through puberty and get the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, we begin to assume that being smart is either being white or being feminine. Where do you think, where are we getting these concepts from? And you start to see our girls, they continue to excel academically in school, and we become disinterested in school as though it's unmasculine to be smart, or you have to be white or Caucasian to be intelligent. Like, where are we getting these concepts from? And have you noticed this yourself? Anybody want to talk about this? Because I want our young brothers to know, man, it's not unmasculine to be intelligent. You know, Dr. Charles Drew was a black man. He invented the process of blood transfusion. And I think everybody today in the Western world and the worldwide period appreciate what he did intellectually and his contribution as a black man to the world of science and medicine. So what do y'all think about what we're talking about?
A lot of what we see on TV, I hate to even go there, but the music we're listening to, you know, it's they're being the educators for these youth, you know what I mean? And obviously there's a lot going on during that time period for us kids, you know, us men, you know, our hormones are raging, you know, we're looking, you know, we're focusing on all the wrong things because once again, we don't have anybody to help us focus on the right things. You know what I mean? And we listen to this music and obviously all of this, all these raging hormones, all of this aggression, all the wrong training that we're getting, it begins to manifest. You know what I mean? Now that we're getting to a point of more independence, you know what I mean? Now we're getting to be more out there without any hindsight or anyone being on our back. You know what I mean? Our parents we're in high school now. You know, they're like, go ahead, get yourself your own transportation, go ahead, you know, go to school and come back, be responsible, be a young adult. You know what I mean? So getting to that stage, we're obviously once again observing and we're seeing what's around us. And unfortunately, everything on TV, media, music, sex, money, drugs, violence.
Brother Dahi, I think what you said, I'm seeing it in the front line because I work in the school system.
Yes, sir.
And I look at it as two things. Pressure, I call it the 2 P's. Pressure and patience. The patience is that, like Brother Ed said, our youth, especially our young African American men, don't have the patience to take the proper steps regarding success. And what I mean by the proper steps regarding to success is finishing school. They don't have the patience anymore. The pressure is when they go home and they see their friends, same age as them, not attending school, but coming to pick them up in the car from school with money, drugs, chicks, and nice whips. That pressure is a lot. I've been working in the school for 7 years now. And the grade is that I worked with for about 7 years. I did high school for about a year. But the 6th year is more so kindergarten to 8th. And it's crazy because the 6th grader now want independency. They don't want to wait no more. They don't even want their father or their mother to give them nothing no more. So patience is virtue. We lost it.
Good point.
I don't know when we lost it. I don't know how we lost it. But we lost patience. And the other P is pressure from your peer that's misguided by negative, but living a life that you want. So that pressure and no patience lead to failure in grades and dropout rates for our black men.
One of the things that we know for a fact that through Street Safe that we're able to use this platform is to curb some of that. This is a pivotal point at that age that you said, and what happened is society has been able to change the narrative and the false pretense in the young people's minds on what is right and what is wrong, which way to go and which way not to go. They've been capable enough to reshape the narrative, the bottom line, and give a false pretense. And they sold it well. And as a platform through Street Safe, that's what it's become pivotal for us to grab the narrative and the bottom line back and give the truth, speak the truth out there. Because the world has did a great job in changing the narrative on how to live and what is right. And here's the moral compass of it. If a person doesn't know where he at, and I can tell you, you can ask any young youth that say, where are you at? The first thing you'll think is his surroundings. And that's not what you're talking about. You're saying, for you to identify where are you at. And here's in life, anybody who don't know where they're at, you don't know where you're going. You are lost. So the world has stolen the narrative from them and shaped it. They have shaped this false pretense and narrative on what is accepted and what is not to be accepted. And that's our job through Street Safe, to use this platform to reshape the bottom line of the narrative and say, listen, where are you at? I'm not talking physically. Where are you at? And once you tell me where you at, you should be able to tell me now where you going. And if you can't tell me that or identify that, then I'm in the false pretense, what the world has sold to the world. And they've done a great job to our youth. I don't even have to go into it on some of the things that they've sold to societal false pretenses on what is right and what is wrong. We know what's wrong. And I believe that it's a pivotal stage. Through Street Safe, we should use the platform to speak to that narrative, to that bottom line, that listen, man, here's where you need to start at. If you are young, you should not succumb to peer pressure. But by telling them that, it's not going to get them nowhere. You got to give them a perspective and some guidance and an understanding so they can know not to fall in this trap. And we know that that takes education. A lot of our youth are lacking the things that they're lacking because, like the old saying goes, if you know better, you do better. And it goes back to what Brother Ed said about this role models or false models, I would say, that's out there. They've been able to grab the narrative and sell it well to the people. And they're buying into it, the youth. You know, it's all about being lit. You know, I ain't gonna even get into whatever the false pretense is. And we know it's not that. And it's our job to say, hey, wait a minute. You know how hard it is, no disrespect, as a black man just to get ahead in life? With you being uneducated, you have now put yourself at the back of the back. At the back of the back.
Good point.
You're leaning on people and false pretenses for your future. You don't even know where you're at. So how can you realize where you're going? Only how you're going to know where you're going is to educate yourself out of this. If you don't educate yourself out of this, then you'll be in the back. And then you got to show them, hey, get your education. And they say, oh no, it's not that easy. Well, guess what? Anything in life that's worth it, like Brother Dai said, you got to dig it out. You gotta work hard at it. You gotta work hard. And how can you work yourself out of this situation? You gotta take the time, like Brother Harry said. Be patient with yourself. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. So when your situation comes, you can at least know where you're at. And then when you start to see where you're at, you can start to see where you want to go and where you want to be.
Good point.
You get what I'm saying? And it starts with that. And they say, well, how does that look? Well, it starts with educating yourself, being patient, reading, taking the time out, blocking out the false narrative. Don't listen to what people are saying. There's a saying that I love, and it's on MSNBC. She says, don't listen to people what they are saying, but watch what they are doing. And that's what the youth got to do. They got to get that concept and say, I'm not going to look at what y'all doing. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm getting my eyes off that. I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize. I need to educate myself because, no disrespect, you're at a disadvantage right now with no education. The average person can't even get ahead with degrees. They make you look crazy. You can go through associates, bachelors, PhDs, masters, and they still put hurdles through you. Can you imagine the disadvantage that you are at, uneducated with just barely can speak or a GED or a high school diploma? Not to mention, and I don't want it to be a race car because that's not what I'm getting at. As a black person growing up at a disadvantage with no education, you had a far disadvantage way than everybody. And I tell all my youth, and I just came from telling them, educate yourselves. Find out where it is that you're at in your life. And once you find out where you're at, you'll start to understand where it is you need to be and where you're going to go. And that's where I'm at with it. It's a false narrative that I have been told, false sense of pretense. In the world, and I'm going to end it with this, they have done a great job by selling it. And that's our job to unsell it.
From first grade, from kindergarten or preschool, let's say kindergarten to 5th grade, the reason why our kids excel, or we excel, from first grade or kindergarten to fifth is because we're anxious to go to school. We love to go to school. We're excited to go to school. And like you said, there's a time when they get into that 6th and 7th and 8th grade, that starts to dwindle. It starts to, and that comes with the point that you was talking about. They start seeing their friends, 7th, 8th grade. In 7th, 8th grade, people started doing their thing at that time. They were doing their thing. They were making their little money. They were involved with stuff, and you have some of them who have that peer pressure. And I think the problem with our youth today is that they don't have love for school, and the school is not giving them anything to have love for the school.
Absolutely.
So pep rallies and things of that nature, when we were in school, we loved that. You know what I'm saying? We was always wanting to battle against the freshman, sophomore, whatever class you was excited. Basketball games, everybody was there. It was packed. You had school pride. And then, yes, I'm gonna bring this up, and I don't understand what's wrong with these young men, but women was the reason why I was going to school. Central was a school where you had to dress, and they had some beautiful women in the school. And if you were going to that school, trust and believe those women in there, they were paying attention to see if you were actually going to class. I had a good GPA. I just so happened to be involved with the street. But I had a good GPA. But I feel that the love for school and the school not giving these kids a reason to love their school is the reason why kids don't want to go.
We don't move in the spirit of accountability because we do, but also the people in power have to be accountable at some point. And what's happening is, there's two things that's happening to our young men in school, particularly our young men, is that teachers have to find a way to incorporate a curriculum that makes our young men interested. And a lot of times, as black and brown people, black and Latino males, you don't see anything talked about the intellectual or scientific contributions to the world and Western civilization by men of color being talked about in a classroom. And this has to be incorporated into a curriculum, a multicultural curriculum, to have young men engage in class where they feel like they're learning about something that's relevant to them. And then the second thing is, as teachers, I didn't have any teacher do it for me, and I'm not making an excuse, but I didn't have any teacher connect the dots for me to make me understand the concept that the brother was talking about with patience, delayed gratification. I lived in a world that was about instant gratification, and I didn't have a teacher that took the time to get me to connect the dots to understand that what I'm doing now is going to pay off later and how important that is. I didn't understand delayed gratification. And it's sad that we lost that because we have brothers and sisters who immigrate from other countries that can't even speak the language, but because they have that concept and not the language, they go past us because they never lost that concept. They know that what they're doing now is going to pay off later, and we've lost that. And then the second point, real quick, was about when Brother Ed said about the media images and the music, and we don't want the young brothers to think, we're not knocking the music, but you can go on YouTube, you can investigate this, that there are rappers who came forward that talk about when they try to produce positive, productive music, that they're told by people in the industry that that doesn't sell. Keep producing this kind of music that reproduces the cycle of drugs, guns, and violence because it sells better. So we're wrapping up right now. We want to thank our viewers for just hopefully getting something out of this, and the brothers who participated, your knowledge and wisdom and understanding was very much appreciated. And just a couple of words, just give us some closing thoughts.
I just want to thank you, Brother Naeem, my boss Ebony, my supervisor Ed, my co-workers Harry, Art, Brother Ant, and the guests that helped us put this thing together. It's our job as street safe workers. It's time to roll our sleeves up, get to work. It's much work needed, and we gotta save our youth. They are our future. And we're here for you through Street Safe, and there's anything that I can do and I know my co-workers can do, please don't hesitate. Come see Street Safe, and blessings on you.
We touched on a lot of things, mostly, once again, education in all aspects of life. Being trained, by parents or peers, things that we see, things that we experience, and it forms our life. All of these things, honestly, you might not understand, it contribute not only to you hating yourself, but hating the man right next to you. And this is what the pot is holding to create the violence that's happening among our youth. The lack of education, the fact that you're not being taught what being a man is really about, the fact that you're being influenced not only by your peers but media, the fact that you have a concept that being the toughest and the biggest and the roughest, even by going to prison, makes you a man and it's some type of rites of passage, but it's not. We're here to help you understand that there's a different way. You know what I mean? If you want to learn of that way, please contact us. We're here. We've been through that path already. We walked through that path, all of us here, and we're trying to tell you it's not pretty. It's hard as hell to actually overcome it. You know what I mean? But if you walk that walk already, once again, we transitioned from it. We have overcome it, and we can educate you on how to do it yourself. So, once again, there's a different route, man, and we're here for you.
Just as he said, reach out to us. If you need a mentor for your son, please contact Street Safe Bridgeport. Our director is Ebony Epps. Contact her. Let her know what it is that you need, and we're here for you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Knowledge. Know the ledge so you don't fall off the edge.
Something real quick, I'm like a riddle guy, and the piggyback off my brother Daeed, the universal annihilator effect. What you do now, negative or positive, will affect the later, the annihilator effect.
I want to thank everybody for being here and just let you know that we're going to be in the neighborhood near you. We'll be in all the communities. Please come up to us, talk to us, get to know us. We're here to help you. God bless.